Amazon ditches its cashier-less checkout. Google says it will get rid of incognito browsing data, and more AI song and audio creation tools hit the market. We're going to talk about those tech stories and more on this episode of Today in Tech. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. The guy behind the monitors is Chris. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's good. It's one of those times when you've shaved your beard, a little off-putting and a little scary, but it's okay.
I mean, I hope it's not too scary.
we don't want to frighten small children. And in about a week, you're going to have your beard back anyway. So, you grow it really fast.
Yeah, it's wild weed. Wild weed.
And joining us once again as our guest co-host this week is Brandon Maney. He is the co-founder of the Mangrove Collective and CTO at Glasshouse. Hello, Brandon.
Thank you.
So Brandon, I'm going to tell you, episode 3 of the 4 that you do is like the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones. This should be your best episode. I'm just warning you right now.
It's hard to live up to the past too, but I'm going to bring my A game.
And I'm sorry that I had to use the Game of Thrones episode because that seems old already. But for most of those TV series that are hot, it's never the final episode that, it's always the one right before the final episode. So
the finale leads you into the next season, right?
Right.
It keeps you wanting more. And
you can still end strong because we are going to bring you back. I'm certain of that. But but we feel that most of the guest co-hosts are comfortable on the 3rd episode. So, no pressure.
All right.
Let's talk song and audio AI stuff. Stability AI has launched Stable Audio 2.0, adding key new functions to the company's text-to-music generator. Now users can generate tracks that are up to 3 minutes long at 44.1 kilohertz stereo from a natural language prompt like, quote, a beautiful piano arpeggio grows to a full, beautiful orchestral piece, or, quote, lo-fi funk. I guess they're giving examples here, but there was a couple of interesting things from this. First, it also features audio-to-audio generation, which lets users manipulate any audio sample they want using text-based AI prompts. However, in its terms of service, it does require that any audio uploaded to the tool has to be free of copyrighted material, with the tool employing a content recognition filter to ensure compliance. And this came out of, I guess, the vice president of audio, his name is Ed Newton-Rex. He resigned, basically saying that he didn't agree with the company's opinion that training generative AI models on copyrighted works is fair use. And so that's why I think this new feature doesn't, you have to make sure that it's not copyrighted material. So I thought that was interesting that they're trying to be a little bit more responsible in the use of copyrighted versus non-copyrighted. I think they're probably just trying to defend themselves from potential lawsuits down the road. But that could be an issue that comes up in a lot of these lawsuits, whether or not if you scrape copyrighted material, can you claim fair use? Fair use always used to be about kind of journalism type things where you could make fun of someone, or you could do a video. I could do a video commenting on another video, and I'm not actually as long as you add some commentary and analysis, that's what the whole fair use thing is. That's why you get people that react to movie trailers, for example, on YouTube. That's why you're allowed to do that, because of the fair use thing. So, hey, did you say you tried this? You have tried this feature? Or you tried the stability?
Yeah. In anticipation of the story, and after we met last week, wanting to compare what was out there, my kids got hooked on the creation of a lot of the songs. I did a hedgehog bedtime.
Right. This was the Suno AI.
The Suno, tool. And I wanted to compare. I was very surprised at the difference. It seems like it's very high-end quality on the instrumentals, at what it can create and the influences that it has. It's neat. It's sort of like a Pandora versus Spotify, to give it a leg. And they're different use cases. They're both creating something really interesting, but there's space for both. Yeah.
I think both people, but the articles I've read, when you get into a serious discussion of the tools, people says, it's obvious AI. It's not as good as a regular songwriter might do. It's not like these are going to start competing with, your pop stars of today, the ones that are building songs for radio play. for me, in my usage of it, I was just making goofy songs for my kids, and my kids were jumping on too and just creating like inside joke songs. But for those types of uses, it was great. So I haven't used the stability part yet. But again, I'm not a serious songwriter either. I'm not,
right.
So I don't know how much of a threat these types of tools pose at the moment. I'm just impressed with the speed at which these things can be created. I mean, that's the other thing too.
And if you think about like a singer-songwriter, the other part that I saw, the exportability, so to have inputs as other songs or bits of music, things you've made on GarageBand, but to be able to export these into other parts or other programs as a base for singer-songwriters, or where sort of the human versus the AI comes together, could be really cool.
Do you think that that songwriters might use these tools to start as a base and then build off of that? Or do you think there's going to be a lot of people that are upset and just be like, I don't want these tools at all because it takes away some of my talent or creativity? I guess it depends on the person that's doing it.
Yeah, I think if you're an amazing singer and you want to start to get a demo CD together without knowing a DJ or band or don't have that particular talent, this seems like a great way, bedroom tapes, other things, to get a leg up and show off what you can do and play around. It's very low barrier to entry. Yeah,
but obviously if you just use the tool by itself, it's probably not going to like rocket you to superstardom.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Interestingly, on the Suno, when we talked about it on the show last week, I think I went onto the site yesterday, and there was a big message. It was like, oh, due to heavy demand, they were only allowing paid subscribers, to create songs. And my first reaction was like, well, I guess I'm done with this tool because, I do like the 5 songs or 5 songs you get on a daily basis. But I wasn't ready to start subscribing and paying for, again, goofy song creation. But then I went today and everything was fine again. So maybe they figured out their capacity or demand generation. I was ready to give up. That's how quickly I was not in. I mean, I was impressed, but like not from a serious, I'm going to spend money on this.
I'm glad you told me because now I'll go back. I had not gone back after I saw that message come up.
Right.
Kids will be really pleased.
Yeah, maybe that's what happens is you put the warning up and then your demand drops and then you're like, oh, I guess we can handle it now until again. But this is what OpenAI went through with a lot of their things too. And it took them a while to get kind of to meet that demand that they had. Speaking of OpenAI, they also announced they are offering limited access to a text-to-voice generation platform that it developed. It calls itself Voice Engine, which can create a synthetic voice based on a 15-second clip of someone's voice. The AI-generated voice can read out text prompts on command in the same language as the speaker or in a number of other languages. These small-scale deployments are helping to inform our approach, safeguards, and thinking about how Voice Engine could be used for good across various industries, which OpenAI said in his blog post. So again, it's not being deployed for everybody yet, but they are testing some different uses of it. The thing that knocks me out, again, 15 seconds of audio to then basically clone a voice. I think when 11 Labs was doing this last year, they needed, what, Chris, about a minute of audio?
Yeah, 30 seconds to a minute.
30 seconds to a minute. So now it's down to 15 seconds, and you can basically replicate anybody's voice. Obviously, they're going to try to make sure that you're not replicating Joe Biden's voice, which we saw happen during the primaries up in New Hampshire. That they're going to try to make sure that people are not using this for bad purposes. But I guarantee that'll happen.
I think eventually all that the app will need in order to duplicate your voice is just do a face scan or eye scan of your pupil, and then it'll look you up in the AI system and be like, oh, yep, that is Chris or that is Keith.
Oh, and that's a good idea.
Well, no, it's not. No, we don't want this, Keith. I think that'd be a little too much for privacy.
All of my video and audio is already up on the site. It's already public. It's already out there. If you really wanted to imitate me and have me say something stupid, just ask me to say something stupid. I'll probably say it.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not a big time celebrity, so I suppose that if I was a famous voiceover actor, that kind of thing, I would be concerned about that. Did you see that story in the BBC, Brandon, about they were doing a project and they had a voice actress ready to go, and then at the last second they canceled her because they were able to get AI to do the voice. And so that caused an uproar of like, someone's losing their job because of AI. Yeah. And then it turned out that the BBC had to say like, no, we were trying to replicate the voice of someone who was dying or had died. And they wanted to replicate the voice with that person's voice versus just having a voice actor try to do it.
It's the whole Mandalorian argument, right? Like, can they take Pedro Pascal and take him out of the show and just AI it all up with him and Grogu? Like, maybe that's what we're headed toward.
Are they doing?
Wait, did they do that? Are they doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's been all kinds of talk about how he wants to take his helmet off more if he's going to be involved with the show,
right?
To see the beautiful mug. And so if they can not have him on to actually do the voiceovers, that they're looking for options.
That's right. Because with his helmet on, you really just need his voice.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean,
you just need his voice.
Yeah. James Earl Jones as Darth Vader never got in the actual Darth Vader suit. They had a different actor doing that.
You know, it makes me wonder, and this is slightly off topic, but it's still, I think, relevant. But the Halo TV series.
Yeah.
Yep.
They took his helmet off for the first episode, and everybody who's a fan of Halo is like, wait a minute, he's never supposed to take his helmet off.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe that was one of the reasons why, is because it keeps the actor employed.
Yeah, I mean, I never even I don't know how much Pedro Pascal was actually in that suit during the shooting. I mean, a lot of the stunts obviously were probably done by a stuntman.
Yeah.
But then when he was he actually acting through a voice synthesizer when he was in those scenes? Who knows?
No, it's all.
I thought for season 1 at least. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's all dubbed after.
Right.
Yeah, because you can't really get good audio.
So how much was he actually in the series then?
That's a good question. Can we Google it?
I'm sure AI will give an answer to that, or someone will tell us what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what is the positive use case for it? I guess the voice imitation, or that's what I'm kind of missing here. Is what good does it actually do?
It speeds up so that you don't have to. It speeds it up so that you don't have to have a voice actor saying all the different lines all the time. You could just have all those answers in text, and then it would read it. So it does save a lot of time if you need to generate something. And I think we had a guest on the show once who was recording a lot of audio with like a CEO of a company. And after they recorded all of the video stuff, he realized that the guy screwed up one word. And rather than bringing the guy back in or having him fly out, they were able to replicate the voice, have it say the word the right way, and then dub that in. And that saved him a lot of time rather than just trying to get the CEO to come back to re-record something.
Efficiency. Okay.
So things like that, I think, are like little fixes that make sense. There's another show that we do here called Demo, where we have people come in and show off their products. And I haven't filmed this one yet, but they have a voice replication type thing where they have like a customer service agent. And so instead of just typing a question and getting an answer, they do it all via voice. So you call in and you're like, hey, I need customer service or something. And the voice on the other end is now an AI voice instead of a live agent. And they can scale it to a live agent if the chatbot can't answer the question. But when I was listening to this demo, I was like, wow, that sounds like a real... I had to ask. I go, is that a real person or is that an AI voice? He's like, oh, yeah, it's AI voice. So that's where you're seeing some... And again, I would use the term good in quotes because, in theory, I guess they're not using voice or human agents, but humans are used for the questions that you can't get solved by this automation. But yeah, I would also be concerned, and again, the companies that OpenAI is using are education companies. So there's a company called Age of Learning, visual storytelling platform HeyGen, which I've tested out. And that's where they're getting like AI avatars to read the news or provide educational, I want to say like how-to seminars for like, corporate training type things on how to use PowerPoint or things like that. So they're using avatars to create those rather than hire someone to tell you how to use PowerPoint or whatever other software you're trying to do. Let's see, frontline health software maker Dimagi AI communication app creator, LiveVox, and health system Lifespan. So these are all companies that are going to be utilizing these things with the 15-second clip. Again, I haven't tested it, so I can't see how accurate it is. I know that when I used 11 Labs, there are, like, if you just put my audio up there, it does kind of imitate my voice, but not completely. You could still tell it's me or not me. You have to then tweak settings to go up or down in your voice modulation. And so, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not worried at the moment because who's going to want to imitate me? So yeah, those are the two big audio things from the week. So, and then we mentioned that Suno is still out there if you want to write cute, goofy songs. All right. Second topic I want to talk about was Amazon. This week basically has announced that they are ditching their Just Walk Out checkouts at its grocery stores. Basically, the company said it's phasing out its checkout-less grocery stores that was using this Just Walk Out technology. The company's senior vice president of grocery stores says they're moving away from Just Walk Out, which relied on cameras and sensors to track what people were leaving the store with. Just over half of Amazon Fresh stores are equipped with Just Walk Out. The technology lets customers skip the checkout altogether by scanning a QR code when they enter the store. Though it seemed completely automated, Just Walked Out apparently relied on more than 1,000 people in India watching and labeling videos to ensure accurate checkouts. The cashiers were simply moved off-site, and they watched you as you shopped. So,
interesting.
That's a little disturbing, I would say.
Huh.
Yeah.
Part of me is I'm actually glad that they're not developing this technology. I think the idea of waiting in line at a store, this was something that Jeff Bezos was like, oh, we're doing this because we hate waiting in lines at stores. It's like, first of all, I want to say, Jeff, when was the last time you were actually in a grocery store and had to wait in line for something?
Well, I was going to say, I think Just Walk Out is already happening in several metropolitan cities. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, that technology is being used at the local Walgreens, the CVS.
It's a great technology just to walk out. And better yet, they don't even know what you look like. So you don't need a surveillance team watching because you're never going to see their faces. So,
See, that's why we picked this story, just so that we can use that joke.
Have you all used it? Have you been to one of those stores?
I went in, so I think they had them at Amazon. I think they called them Amazon Go. Yep. This was the early version of it, and they had these little stores set up, and it was supposed to be the entire, well, not the entire, but it was like the idea of Amazon.com in a retail location. And so it wasn't just groceries. You could go in and buy books, and you could, kind of do that. The problem with that early on was that you had to, when you entered the store, you had to either download an app or somehow let them know who you were so that they could tie it to your Amazon account.
Yep.
And that was before you even decided whether you wanted to buy something. And so I couldn't get it to work, or it took for, I was in an area that had a low network connectivity, so I couldn't actually download the app. And it was like, and then there was a person there who was monitoring what people were buying or making sure they didn't just walk out with the technology. Yeah. And I think Amazon ended up shutting a lot of these down because they just felt like, well, they tend to test a lot of these concepts in retail, and then if it's not working, they just shut it down. So this is not really a surprise, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was that people were just walking out without actually scanning or paying for it.
Well, I mean, we all know that that's probably the real reason why. Maybe someone figured out, maybe they put like something around items so that it can't scan as you walk out, like I don't know, like a Faraday cage or something.
There was. This is one of the reasons that was given about why they were doing it, or why they were letting it go. They said, instead of Just Walk Out, Amazon is going to move towards something called Dash Carts, which is a scanner and screen that's embedded in your shopping cart, allowing you to check out as you shop. These offer a more reliable solution than Just Walk Out, and then they're also going to feature self-checkout counters from now on for people who are not Amazon members. So I guess you could walk in. If you're not an Amazon member, then you can just go to the self-checkout and pay for that.
Hold on a minute. This tech also already exists. Dash Out. People run out all the time with stuff.
Right.
So I mean, they are like walkout is old news. Dash out. Well, we've already got that.
This is on a roll.
They don't pay for it. It's all about the payment part. The problem so whenever technology like this comes out, I become one of those people, not that I want to go in and steal stuff, but I do want to see how well the system works. So if I go to a grocery store and it is one of those things where like, did you ever see the stores that had the hand scanners?
You mean the palm scanners?
Like it's like a little gun. Yeah, you know. So the idea was you would take a can of soup off the shelf, you go boop, boop, and then put it in your cart, and then you can then leave once you've scanned all of your things. So you can skip the checkout line because you're checking out while you're buying. The problem I have with that format is if you go boop boop and then you scan something, and then you decide, oh, I don't want that, or I got the wrong one. The process of fixing it is probably a pain in the ass. Then you have to find a human. The same thing with self-checkouts. If it doesn't scan right or you double scan, I've done that many times. You still have to get a human in the loop, and then that takes time, and you might as well just wait in line at that point for all of these errors that pop up. And then, those of us with kids, when my kids were younger, rolling down the aisle, and all of a sudden they grab a box of cereal that I didn't want them to have, and then they throw it in the cart, and now the cart's being like boop, boop. Guess what, you've just bought the 50-ounce Cocoa Pebbles that you didn't want. So
you leave that one in the parking lot, you don't take that home.
I don't understand why these companies are obsessed with just reducing the line. It's like just maybe it's because I'm old, and it's like, I actually don't mind waiting in a line the way I used to be annoyed about waiting in lines, but now I'm like, you know what, take that time and, meditate while you're waiting.
Just have more checkers. I mean, I don't know. I think growing up, the grocery store part that drives me nuts is there used to be a time when you would go and check out, like someone would bag up your groceries for you, right? And then you would take them to wherever you were going. Yeah. Now they're scanning things. You're trying to bag it yourself. You brought your own bags. You're loading them up into your cart. You're trying to find your credit card. The line's queuing and people are like looking down at their watches. It is stressful, man. Like solve that bagging problem.
Wait, you don't have a store. You're on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, he's in San Francisco. Yeah.
San Francisco. Yeah. So you don't. That's interesting. So there's no store over there that still bags your groceries.
No, it is.
Oh, wow.
All that nervous, and it's super awkward and needs help.
We do have some stores here that still bag.
Yeah, Market Basket.
Yeah, Market Basket is one of those local chains that they still have everybody. Every cashier has a bag.
Market Basket. Okay, I used to work there probably 10 years, high school and college. They are a company out of time.
It really is.
They're so old fashioned.
Well, they're
old fashioned.
Their customer base too is like over the age of 60, I think.
Yeah.
I'd patron that. That sounds great to me. Tell me where to go.
Well, I mean, the problem that I have is that, I'll pick a line and I see that there's a bagger there. And then by the time I get to the front person, that checker is then, the bagger's gone to a different person. I'm like, do I have a face that says I want to bag my own groceries and scan my own groceries? It's like, yeah. And then we've got cities around here that have instituted bag limits.
Oh yeah.
Where you can't use plastic bags anymore because they want to save the planet. And so what they do is they institute paper bags, which is actually worse than plastic bags because you're cutting down more trees. But then they charge you for a bag, and then they expect you to maybe bring your own recyclable, reusable bag. Half the time when I go to the grocery store, I've got about 7 different reusable bags in my trunk. But when I park, I forget to go and get them. So I'm always buying more and more reusable bags. In New Jersey, they passed this law. I was in New Jersey and trying to buy some groceries once. They wouldn't give me plastic bags. They didn't have any. They wouldn't let me buy paper bags. They basically said you have to either buy one of these reusable bags or you carry this out yourself. And so I had like 6 items, and I carried it all out by myself, or put it back in the cart and then threw it into the trunk later.
Well, that's one of those weird states, It's the one that doesn't let you pump your own gas.
That's true.
So it's just one of those.
It was this weird trip I did to New Jersey where I couldn't get a grocery bag and I couldn't pump my own gas. I was in like this weird bizarro 1970s type world.
They still think we're gonna douse ourselves in gasoline and
Well, so I've read two articles. So there was two articles I've read. One was because of this law about the grocery bags, they've actually made it worse because the environmental impact on people buying these bags is higher than the effect of trying to get rid of them. And then on the gas pumping article I read, they actually said that the amount of time that the person pumping the gas is less than if you were trying to pump your own gas. So they were saying that law is not going away anytime soon because people are just accepting of it in New Jersey for that. So I don't know how we got off track. We were talking about self-checkout and so yeah, Brandon, if you're ever over on the East Coast and want to visit us, we'll take you to a Market Basket. But you're exactly right too. There is too much stress now with just a grocery store checkout between all of those different things. Or you get someone that it used to be. I was annoyed by people trying to pay with pennies or a check.
Yep.
And now it's annoyed if they don't have the credit card thing doesn't work or the Apple Pay or the. Although I'm now moved into the area where I like the credit card where I can tap now. I've now moved up in my technical knowledge. I have a card that does that, and it actually works now most of the time. All right. So, next story. There's a couple of security stories I wanted to bring up. Earlier in the week, AT&T revealed that the data of 73 million customers, including social security numbers, was compromised in a data breach. A hack some media outlets state was reported back in 2021. In a statement posted to its website, AT&T said a recent data set released on the dark web approximately 2 weeks ago contained data from its customers. At this time, it's not clear whether the hackers were able to breach AT&T systems or those belonging to one of its vendors. The data obtained by hackers contained social security numbers, email addresses, phone numbers, dates of birth, AT&T account numbers, and AT&T passcodes. Of the 73 million people affected, 65.4 million were former AT&T customers. In the case of the 7.6 million current customers, AT&T said they automatically reset their passcodes. So basically, they've now prevented current customers from, hacking the systems or having their information stolen. What annoys me about this story is that I am a former AT&T customer.
Me too.
Again, I think everybody was because the initial iPhone that people you had to be on AT&T initially. So I think that's where they got a lot of their customers. And so, but then I've gone, I've moved on from them. I went to Verizon for a while and now I'm on T-Mobile. And so the fact that they would still have all of this information kind of annoys me.
Agreed. Same.
And now I'm responsible for a hacker getting my information, even though I'm not a customer anymore. That's one of the things that annoys me. And again, I don't even know if they're going to be reaching out to me to tell me that my information has been hacked or not. Because again, it was so long ago that I was a customer.
And when did the floor of the complimentary credit and identity theft monitoring, when did that become the bare minimum that they can throw you?
That's whatever Yeah, that's whatever the regulations are. And to be honest, with all of my credit stuff, I just basically lock everything until I need to utilize a credit account. All three of those credit reporting agencies allow you to lock it down. So even if they had all that information from me, I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't be able to kind of get credit. Although that's happened too. People have tried to open things in my name and then I find out about it later and I have to get it taken off the credit report. Mm-hmm. I think that's just the world we live in now, is that we're just basically accepting that these things will happen and our information is probably out there. Everybody I try to get riled up about security breaches are like, oh, this is the voice they go, well, everybody knows everything about me already. So why worry about it?
But they're profiting off it. I guess that's the point that always makes me mad. If it was just out there and, but they're reselling it. They're using it to target, to sell us more things. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you're using my data to try to sell me more stuff, you should be a little bit more responsible about keeping that information secure. Does the government even go after those companies that if there's a data breach, do they even get fined anymore, or is it now just so prevalent?
They should be getting fined.
Yeah.
They should be getting fined, I think.
I did find it interesting that was it the FTC, or this was a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you saw this story where it was the United Healthcare Group hack. Because it was healthcare, the FTC or whoever enforces HIPAA decided to basically go after these guys as, well, you just broken the HIPAA law. And even though it was a data breach and it was a different agency, I think it was Department of Health and Human Services are now going to try to investigate and see if they can nab this company for being a victim, but then also hold them responsible for allowing the data to get released. So that was an interesting approach. So any other thoughts on this AT&T thing, Brandon?
No.
Okay. Chris, you're good?
I'm good.
Okay. Were you an AT&T customer at all back in the day?
When I was a teenager or something like that.
Maybe they've erased that data.
I don't know.
There was another story in the Wall Street Journal this week that I'm just going to bring up briefly, and I know, Brandon, you said you weren't able to read it too much, but last summer there was this MGM hack. MGM Resorts got hacked, and it was a big story. It brought down a lot of casinos in Las Vegas for 4 or 5 days, and people couldn't check into their hotel, and they had to use paper and pencil to do a lot of things. People couldn't get money from slot machines. There was a lot of systems that went down. So the Wall Street Journal did a big story about the people that were behind it, and it turns out that it was a group called Star Fraud. Basically, it was a bunch of kids or teenagers, ne'er-do-wells, punks. And we all thought that this was going to be like, oh, these were Russians, these were, a highly organized ransomware gang. And it turns out that basically it sprung out of an online community called The Calm. Virtually unheard of 5 years ago, The Calm has become one of the top cybersecurity problems facing the U.S. They have stolen millions of dollars in cryptocurrency heists. They have driven teenagers to despair with sextortion schemes. They have successfully masqueraded as FBI agents to trick Apple and Meta into revealing the home addresses and phone numbers of their users. They have hired criminals to throw Molotov cocktails or even fire guns at the homes of rivals. They've been involved in swatting. They've hacked into Microsoft, Nvidia, Uber, and Samsung. And it turns out that they're video gamers and braggarts and con artists and criminals. They're often teenagers from English-speaking countries, including the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. And this is a great quote from one of the researchers that has been tracking this group. Quote, "They're basically children who grew up in online communities that groom children to do cybercrime." It's like, and so as you read the story, it goes through and it gives you kind of a day-by-day play-by-play of what the group did. Basically, they were able, like we said when this happened, not imitated, but they pretended to be someone who's working for MGM Resorts, and they called the help desk and got them to reset the password. They got the password. The password reset email went to that employee, and by the time that he informed the help desk or the IT group that, oh, this wasn't me, they were already in the system and they were already kind of pounding away at the systems, and then starting the ball rolling. Another interesting part about this was MGM, when they discovered what was going on, they shut down their email systems, which then prevented the CEO of the company from getting the ransomware demand.
Oh, no.
So the hackers had sent this ransomware demand that said, like, oh, give us $30 million or, we'll shut down the entire system. The CEO never got the email because the email system was shut down. I thought that was kind of funny. The other thing was that they showed examples of text messages that were sent to employees, which were basically these really, really vile and violent threats of like, give us your login information or we'll have someone shoot your wife, I think was one of them. Like, and so they've got like all of these different text messages, and these are some of the approaches that they take. If they have enough information on you, they will then try to threaten you to give up your login data. So that's another whole threat vector that I think we haven't realized about if you get targeted by some of these groups. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up was, in the end, the MGM, even though it cost them more money in potential lost revenue and all of the money that it cost to reboot the systems and all of this, it cost way more than what the ransomware demand was. But in the end, the story makes it feel like that MGM did the right thing. They didn't pay the ransom. They were willing to spend more money on kind of fixing these systems. And at the time, we thought it was weird because Caesars paid the ransom and didn't have the after effects. So we started questioning whether or not people should pay the ransom, even though the FBI says you should probably not pay the ransom. But so it almost makes MGM look a lot better than I think that they did at the time. So fascinating story. If you can, go read the Wall Street Journal article around it. It's very, very cool. Although I'm really annoyed that this was not a big organized Russian gang, but a bunch of like teenagers.
I mean, it seems like hackers 30 years later, right? Like acid burn.
Right. They used to call these people script kiddies back in the day, but like, so it's still going on, but their methods are definitely different. And, you know, they're going after where the money is versus just kind of attacking random people. So, all right. So the last topic I want to talk about was Google announced that it was going to destroy billions of data records to settle a lawsuit that had claimed it secretly tracked the internet to use internet use of people who thought they were browsing privately. So this is a big win for people that use incognito mode. I'm not going to admit whether or not I use incognito mode. Everyone does. So anyway, terms of the settlement were filed on Monday in Oakland, California federal court. Lawyers for the plaintiffs valued the accord at more than $5 billion and as high as $7.8 billion. Though users will not receive damages, they may still sue individually for damages. The class action lawsuit began in 2020, covered millions of Google users who used private browsing since June 1st of 2016. Users allege that Google's analytics, cookies, and apps let the Alphabet unit improperly track people who set Google's Chrome browser to incognito mode and other browsers to private browsing mode. Google, I think, came out and said, like, look, we didn't use, we may have this data, but we didn't use it for anything. And they certainly didn't, like, you know, call up a user and go, ha ha ha, we see what you're doing. But it is kind of an admittance that, well, I guess they did it and they probably shouldn't have been doing it. Like, if you claim to have something that is private browsing, you probably should not be collecting and saving that data. And their willingness to destroy all this data means that in their mind, I guess that they think that the data is not valuable. So is that a win for incognito browsing, or is it irrelevant at this point?
I don't know if anybody's going to actually read it and internalize it. They still think that they're safe and that whatever happens in that tab, that they're not going to get targeted with electric car ads or whatever else they're trying to look at. I don't know. I don't think it's going to change any behavior. It's nice that Google did it. I'm glad that they did, but I don't know if it's going to change the consumer experience or behavior or another.
Like, I'm still surprised that people, if there are areas of the web where people don't want connected to them. Let's just say it like that. There are more. Like, I'm surprised that people don't do more of this. Whether you know, whether it's maybe like you're afraid that the government's going to be tracking you and you don't want them to go, that, like, you know, if you're a Democrat and you're visiting like a Donald Trump website, for example, you know, you don't want your neighbors to know, or you don't want I don't know. I mean, there are more ways than just incognito mode, but I think that there's so many people that don't, that they just go and surf wherever they want. And like, that's why the big joke is like, well, if I ever get killed in an accident, the first thing I want you to do is clear my browser history. You know, and you hear stories like that. But if you know, I don't even know if there is a way to be completely anonymous when you're, you know, using the internet, because there's several levels of things that you can do. But, you know, just using incognito mode, pretty much everyone knows that you're still going to be tracked at some point.
Well, there's VPNs, I think, but then again, who has access to those servers that use the VPN?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like...
And everything goes through the router anyway, even if you are in a VPN. Yeah. They're not going to track the actual content, but they're going to know that you know, that something happened, or that you did something, or you know, there is a record of everything that you're doing.
Yes.
So just don't do anything bad, I guess, is the answer to that.
Act as though everything is public and protect yourself.
I you know, it is interesting that you know, Google probably just felt like, let's just get rid of this. We'll, you know, the data's not worth anything anyway, so we'll destroy it, and you know, and then we'll go on to, you know, destroying the internet in other ways. So and
it puts pressure on Mozilla or whomever else to do the same, right?
Yeah.
Like that.
Right, and even Apple, you know, if you're doing a lot of stuff on your phone, you have to make sure that Apple then understands. And Apple's pretty good about privacy issues anyway, so I wouldn't be too worried about those companies. But, and again, if law enforcement is targeting you, like, if you are a bad guy and you are using it to, buy guns illegally or do other kind of illegal activities, there are probably other methods that we don't even know about of tracking you. So, all right. So maybe this is a small victory for the people that were worried about incognito mode. All right, kind of a slow week this week, so I think we're going to kind of wrap it up. Brandon, any other final thoughts on anything?
No, it was a good week. April Fools happened.
Okay. So let's close with that. I'm annoyed by all of the April Fools stuff. And I think that the pandemic really helped kind of quell the enthusiasm that people used to have for April Fool's jokes.
Yes.
In the news industry, it's the worst day to kind of monitor the news because everyone writes fake news stories and everyone thinks they're funny and they're generally not. And now we live in this AI world where it's so easy to create fake news and fake disinformation. And so like every day you have to almost read an article and say, is this true? Is this not true? So I never look forward to April 1st when it's during a news week. I don't care if it's on the weekend because I'm usually not monitoring news on the weekend. But, was there anything like, Chris, you monitor stuff. It was a lot of video game companies, I think, that tried to do some pranks and tried to trick people. I didn't get fooled by anything this year. There was no fake news story I was looking at and going, oh, that's real. No, it wasn't. I mean, I have admitted, I'll admit that I have been fooled before, but not this year.
The only one that I heard that was semi-interesting, Waymo, which is the driverless car company out here in San Francisco. I heard that in one of their voiceovers when they were doing drop-offs and pickups, that they, over the stereo, came in and said, please pardon the interruption, I need to stop for gas. And that was when they are electric Jaguar.
Oh, right, okay.
And,
see, you had to explain it to me. I'm like...
Out here on the West Coast, we get it.
Okay. Chris, you had seen some video game ones, right? Like you thought there was an NVIDIA one announcement or something like that where they announced they were going to build a new Xbox with 2 GPUs in it.
Yeah. NVIDIA was claiming that they are making the next Xbox. It's got a dual GPU and all that, but I mean, we all know we all knew it was.
I think the people that made Cyberpunk did a thing where they're like, okay, the new install is going to be on 47,000 floppy disks. It's just, I don't know. Like, don't waste the time doing if you're a tech company, just don't bother. I've had to tell people, like I used to do some consulting work for other companies and I told them never put a press release out on April 1st because people are going to think that it's fake. Wait till the next day. And so that you don't ever have anybody questioning that. And B, if you want to write a fake one, don't. It's never as funny as you think it is. And sometimes people listen to me, and sometimes people didn't. But basically, the rule is still there. So I'm not a fan of April Fools at all. I think the last time I was a fan of it was when I was in school. And my dad would come in and go, "There's no school today. Ha ha, April Fools." Yeah, it's not. I mean, when is April Fool's ever funny? Is it? Maybe I'm just too cynical now. I don't know.
You're too cynical.
I'm too cynical in general. I don't trust anything. I'm like Fox Mulder from the X-Files, and there's another old reference for you. Brandon, thank you very much. We're going to end the show.
My pleasure.
All right, we'll see you. We're not around next week, so we'll see you in a couple weeks for your last show.
Looking forward to it. Thank you all.
Take care. That's all the time we have for today's episode. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, add any thoughts you have below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.